Okay, so we have another ingression on the 11th. Mercury enters Cancer. So Mercury moves from Gemini into Cancer. And this basically leads right into what we just discussed, emotional intelligence, because Mercury is all about the mind and thinking and processing information and communication. Whereas, Cancer is about the psyche and the emotions and everything that is deep down inside of you. So it triggers an emotional intelligence cycle that I think is going to be quite complementary based on Mercury retrograde in Gemini. So since everything we learned, hopefully what we grew through, what we had struggles and, trials and tribulations through, this is now bringing the emotional component, back into that. There's a dialogue there that's going to happen.
And Mercury in Cancer, if you think of the archetype of the crab, I know you like to think of Cancer like a hermit crab, but if we think of it as like the, like a regular crab,
Yeah.
It moves side to side. So when Mercury's in Cancer, how we communicate and how we process information, it comes out sideways. So be really forgiving with yourself about the ways in which you're communicating, because you may say something and again, it comes out and you're like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Or somebody is coming at you and you're like getting really defensive. Again, Cancer energy, very defensive. Yeah. And be able to curb your reactions of like, okay, why am I feeling defensive? And usually when we feel defensive, it's because we don't feel entitled to whatever that emotion is. Like we don't feel like we have a right to feel what it is that's coming up for us.
Absolutely. And then guess what that does? It creates a shame cycle. I shouldn't be feeling this way. Oh, you're better than this. You should know better. And then the shame actually creates a deeper cycle of trauma and pain. So this is a wonderful time to really honor what is coming up and being able to emotionally process and breathe through and acknowledge and hold space for that, in order to excavate deeper space, to create the energy of the three, communicate and create, in a way that is more aligned with who you are and who you've evolved into today.
Yes, so, absolutely.
Okay, so Mercury trines Jupiter, the 12th.
This is lovely transit. A trine energy, similar to a sextile, it's a boost. It's harmonious and creative and flowing. The only thing with trine energy is you have to put a little bit of extra work into it to access it, because when we're in a state of harmony, when things are going well, there's nothing that's really pushing us or mobilizing us in a way to make changes or to engage with it. So you're going to have to everyone's going to have to figure out what that means for them. But Mercury being the mind, and Mercury is also your attitudes, your beliefs, and how you receive and send information. So this is a really good time if there's something that's been sitting on your heart at this time that you really need to let someone know. Like, this is a good time to do it, because Jupiter is the great expander, and these two together, it's a charismatic kind of energy. It's a social energy. It's a time to see where other people are coming from without judgment. It's a time of just unifying different groups together, because you got Mercury and Jupiter, and they're just all about like, let's go out, let's party, let's get together, let's get this off our chest.
Yeah, and what I also love about it is, of course, both are in water signs. So you've got Cancer and Pisces, but you've got a lot of creative intelligence here too, because Jupiter in Pisces is really highly creative, and then Mercury in Cancer can be doing the same thing. So it's a great time to write. If you're writing something, working on your writing, or you're creating, or whatever your artistry is, your poetry is, it's a great time for expressing yourself through whatever your language of creation is, and communication. So I feel like between the new moon and the 12th, that the 3 energy, remember how I talked about the 2 in June in the numerology, the 2 really creating a transition into the 3 energy in July. I feel like between the 9th and the 12th, the 3 energy is fully activated. So we will have transitioned from the 2 and we're in the 3. So
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah.
the piece about all the artists and the creatives, this is a really good time. If you've been dealing with writer's block or you've been dealing with just a lack of inspiration, this is a time where you may just have a sudden boost of energy and you're like, okay, like the juices are flowing again. This is so lean into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next we have Chiron retrograde in Aries.
Yeah,
This
so
goes through December, by the way. Chiron will be retrograde through December 19th. So basically the remainder of this year, Chiron is going to retrograde.
Chiron and Aries is all about the individual and this journey that it takes, which, you know, Chiron, it takes an undetermined amount of time through each sign. It's just kind of how the orbit of the comet works. But when it's in Aries, it's all about who am I? Because Aries is who am I energy. And what are my needs, wants, and desires? But also recognizing like to get what I want is not at the expense of other people. And so this is a time to reflect on, okay, where am I today and what is it that I'm going after, or what is it that I value at this point, and how do I get those things without having to like bulldoze everybody else in my life.
100%. And then at the deeper level of that, it feels like there's an evolution of personal meaning happening. You know, a lot of people sometimes, not a lot of people so much anymore. Used to, everybody's like, what's my meaning? What's my purpose? What's my destiny? You know, and it's like, well, we evolve. And right now, the rules of engagement and time is changing. Time is bending. We are in linear time and we are in multidimensional time. So as we evolve, our meaning evolves, our purposes evolve, our destiny evolves, the way that we co-create, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, all of that is evolving. So this is also with this retrograde in Chiron, and it being in Aries, it's the evolution of your I am at this time. You know, it's over the next 6 months, really, what is my personal meaning evolving into at this time, and my purpose, and what is the direction in which I am going, and how am I constructing that? How am I manifesting that? How am I communicating that to myself, first and foremost, through myself, through my higher self, and with the world around me in my experiences. So it's a beautiful time to reevaluate personal meaning. So I love it.
Like a personal mission statement. It's kind of like, what is my personal mission statement at this time? And how do I, I forget my Gemini moon mind is just like lost it there for a moment. This is also, Chiron retrograde is also going to bring back old issues too. Because again, the wounding that keeps coming up, it's your identity. That's what okay, there we got it. Okay, so this is about re-understanding who you are today and not who you were. So not bringing your old identities with you into the future. That's what it is. Because when you are clinging or holding on to these labels, these identities that we build ourselves around because it gives us comfort, or it makes us feel safe, you're preventing yourself from evolving and moving into the future. So you have to kind of discern which ones are worth keeping and which ones are worth tossing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, next thing, we've got the Sun in Cancer opposite Pluto in Capricorn, which Pluto again is retrograde. So again, that it's the same, it's like the full moon is the full moon happens again, the full moon that we have at the end of June, just after Mercury coming out of retrograde. I feel like it's a whole nother full moon happening.
I know. And people don't like Pluto. I love Pluto because
Well, you know I love Pluto too. Pluto is on, I'm born on a new moon. Chris knows this. Like the sun and the moon were on top of each other, and guess what was on top of them? Pluto. So I'm like, oh yeah, like we're like so Plutonian. We love the dark stuff. We love transmuting. We love alchemy, and of course, like the two of us could talk about this stuff for hours, which
I
we're already
know.
doing. Go ahead.
So the sun opposition to Pluto, this is similar to, it's similar to the moon. Confrontation, because Pluto works in very confrontational ways. Pluto energy is also very eruptive and volcanic in its nature. And that's where we get the significations of obsession and compulsion and fixation. So notice at this time, what are you fixating on? And this, because the sun's involved here, it's probably going to have a lot to do again with your identity and who you are and your personal position in your life at that time. Now, there can also be, in charts and in client charts, when I see this, I see a lot of issues with bosses and a lot of issues with father, because again, the sun. So, you know, old issues with your dad. I mean, it's daddy issues essentially. And then issues with authority figures or people who have power over you, because you are being asked to surrender control. The medicine for Pluto is about understanding when you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and it's not working, it's because you have an attachment to controlling the outcome of the situation. So you have to take a step back and understand, okay, this thing isn't working. My method, my intentions are not working here. Show me a different outcome. I surrender. That's really what it is. It's going to ask you to just kind of take a step back and surrender.
And that brings up the energy of the 5, which you basically said. It's like, okay, instead of pushing and pushing against, pushing the rock up the hill, it's stopping and saying, is there a different way? Show me, is there a different, easier way? Is there a different solution? And the 3 energy, back to the numerology, the 3 says, get curious, like look at things from different perspectives, but ask for some darn help and guidance, and for me, first and foremost, I always say, hey, higher self. And then, it will be revealed to me if I need to seek out external guidance through a spiritual mentor, a friend, a sibling, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So
and also, again, the potential with Pluto transits is there's some kind of deep level healing that is taking place. And it has a lot to do with your personal individuation and how you show up in the world. Right.
Yes, absolutely. So on the 21st, Venus enters Virgo. So we have we're starting to tap on Virgo's door a little bit and getting into Virgo energy. Venus in Virgo. My natal Venus is in Virgo. So I understand this energy pretty innately, but I'm going to let you talk about it because I'd like to hear your take on it. But yeah, I have it. My natal Venus is in Virgo.
So for everyone who has Venus in Virgo, this is your Venus return. Yeah. Again, Venus represents our values and our self-worth. It has a lot to do with our self-esteem as well. So Venus is actually in its fall in Virgo. It doesn't really like Virgo. It does really well in Pisces. It's exalted in Pisces, and it does really well in Cancer. But when it comes into Virgo, it gets really nitpicky. It gets really lost in details, analysis, kind of paralysis situations, or being very self-critical. The Venus in Virgo is very self-critical, but also critical of other people. So watch when you're being really judgmental towards people in your personal relationships, friends, lovers, coworkers, etc.
Yeah, and that's something that I have had to work through, and especially because I'm a Libra through and through, I have that energy. So relationships and people and judgment, but usually it starts because I'm being self-critical of something internally. And fortunately, I have that check system and that checks and balances that I that I learned and was able to incorporate years ago.
Mm.
But Venus in Virgo, one of the most beautiful things about it is when it is really working at its best, there's beautiful precision and there's virtue in it. And so virtuous values
Yeah.
really do come through, and being virtuous in yourself, virtuous to yourself, but virtuous through yourself and your interactions. And so there is beauty in it. But it's interesting because my husband's, his Venus is also in Virgo, and it's one of the reasons, and he's also a Libra. So where we have, of course, tons of different placements and energy, we're both Libras and our Venus is both in Virgo. So we innately communicate in certain ways where we understand each other in those elements. And it's actually kind of a cool dialogue between us relationally.
With Venus and Virgo too, also when the planets are ingressing, again, if you know your chart, look for what house Venus is moving through, or if it's shifting into a new house, or what house it's currently in, because Venus, as it moves through a house, it does harmonize, it does bring beauty and not abundance necessarily in the ways that Jupiter does, but it quells situations. It's able to bring a sense of beauty to whatever it touches, especially if it's touching a major axis on the chart, right? So if it's in your fourth house on the IC, it's in your home and your family. If it's on the seventh, it's your relationships. On the midheaven, it's going to be in work. Okay, so pay attention to what Venusian energies are being brought into your life at this time.
Totally. Okay, and on the 22nd, the sun moves into Leo. Happy birthday, Leos.
Yes, and Leo, and the sun is at home in Leo, so it's a really good time to shine and to put yourself out there and to party and, do all the things.
Be seen, to be able to be seen. I mean, and watch out, keep your ego in check, that's for sure. But it is a really good time to put yourself out there. And especially if you've been in a bit of a hibernation or incubation period. And I know in transitioning from the pandemic and all of the internalization and the isolation and quarantine we've experienced, it's been really difficult for many of us to reintegrate, re-socialize with the world, with society. And so I think as the sun moves into Leo, apart from wanting to get out, there's going to be a different sense of connection with greater community. And also what I love about Leo energy is the nostalgia of Leo. Leo is very personal and loves nostalgia. So it loves relationships and connections where it can talk about memories and laugh and giggle. And so there's that personal intimacy where things are very intimate in a certain way. And so familiarity, and there's a thoughtfulness to Leo too. People, I have a lot of female Leos in my life. And one of the things that I know about Leo is there's that generosity, there's that generous heart. And they're also, there's a whole lot of other qualities, because they want to be seen, they want to be loved on, they want to be recognized. They can be a little needy. Okay. They don't want to admit it because they got pride like nobody's business, but they want to be valued. So for the Leos in your life, reach out to them and say, hey, I appreciate you, I love you, because that will go a long way with them. Really well.
And Leo energy is best used when they are very generous, if they come from a place of unattachment to the outcome of like, I'm going to give because giving to this person shines back on me, and then I get the appreciation that I really wanted in the first place, but it's coming from a place of generosity rather than attention grabbing.
Or an expectation. If I do this, then I earn this. If I'm going to give you this, then you owe me this. And that is low vibe Leo. Vibe Leo. So, and we all do that stuff, we all,
Mhm.
no matter what your natal chart is and your planetary placements, you have Leo somewhere in your chart. Even if you don't have a planet in Leo, it hits a house somewhere, and it hits a placement, and it does manifest in your personality. So
Yeah.
just be mindful of what your motives are. Check your motives. So are you
Mhm.
really coming from a place of generosity where you are detaching from the outcomes and it's truly genuine, or is there an expectation? If I give this to you, then I need this, or I deserve this. Is there an expectation there?
Yeah.
Great point. Okay, on the 23rd, we've got our full moon in Aquarius at 1 degree, 1 degree of Aquarius at 9:37 p.m. Central Standard Time. 1 degree. Very,
Aquarius.
very beginning, like baby Aquarius full moon.
So the moon doesn't really do well in Aquarius
No.
because the moon is emotions and feely and sensy, and Aquarius is removed. It's
Yeah.
very analytical. It's very higher minded, and so these are definitely times where you can feel really you can feel disconnected from your emotions, and you can feel kind of foreign or alien almost to your own body or yourself. So I would say at this time, really check in with yourself, do a lot of body scanning, and kind of really tune into what narratives are playing and what is going on here. Yeah, Aquarius energy, it's it's ruled by Uranus, so it's unconventional, it's eccentric, it's exciting, but it's also disruptive too. So you have to really watch like what is being stirred within you.
And there again is that energy of the five, the 2021 energy. I mean, this is a very Aquarian year. 2021 has a lot of Aquarian and Uranus energy that is being activated. So this full moon to me is a real opportunity to reassess, in the all of the Aquarian attributes, where Aquarian is looking towards its visionary future. What is it innovating? What is it creating? What is it wanting to achieve and move towards? But what is outdated? So it's like, if you've been going through, and then so many of us are experiencing this, we're going through a system upgrade,
Yeah.
literally on the planet, in our consciousness, and in our individual perspective. We're having a system upgrade. So this is the ideal moon to recognize your glitches, because anytime we have a systems upgrade, there are going to be glitches. So anything that's glitching out for you, and of course, there may be technological glitches, because Aquarius rules a lot, rules technology. So
Yeah.
get ready for that. Like, I mean, if you have a bunch of meetings and online, calls and things glitch the, what out, practice your patience, but still check your personal glitches. Where are you glitching out? What glitches need to be recognized so you can say, hey, I think I'm ready to work through this, or I need some assistance, I need some guidance, or I'm ready to process, heal, and let this go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good way to frame it with the I like the word you used is glitch because of the technology portion of Aquarian energy. Um, Yeah, I mean, it's a full moon, so it's a closure. It's a closing of cycles. A lot of letting go kind of energy. So, don't be, and this is good because Aquarius energy is it is very good at being unattached. So don't be attached to what is ending for you at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. So on the 25th, Mercury opposes Pluto. Mercury is still in Cancer at this point in time, and it's opposite Pluto retrograde in Capricorn.
Yeah, this is like obsessive thinking,
I
compulsive.
feel like we just keep repeating the Capricorn full moon.
Yeah,
And
it's
Mercury,
the
I feel like the Capricorn full moon keeps happening again and again. I'm like, so I feel like we're relearning. We're relearning. I mean, we're really like, kinks are being ironed out this
yeah.
month. Okay, say what you were going to say.
Well,
I just am like, oh,
with
because the
with
Capricorn
Pluto,
full moon messed with me, man. And I know it messed with you. Like, it was intense. And it brought up some old wounding that I thought I had transcended and healed. But I have grown, yet I'm still behaving in a different manner, in that kind of Cancerian kind of childlike pattern. And now it's time to change the operating system and upgrade. You know, that it's one of my glitches. So
Yeah.
okay, Mercury opposite Pluto.
Mercury opposite Pluto. Well, it's because of the position of Pluto. Pluto takes a really long time to move throughout a sign, right? And it's been in Capricorn for a while. It's in the later degrees. We still have about like 4 or 5 more years of it in Capricorn. So every time we come into Cancer season and we have the personal planets moving through Cancer, they're all going to make an opposition to Pluto. So it's the same time every year, or around the same time every year, the things are going to be up for revision. They're going to be up for review. And Pluto opposition to Mercury, it gets us in a fixated kind of thinking, right? So there could be a person that you're fixated on, a situation that you're just like, this really doesn't sit well with me, or you just find yourself obsessing over goals, dreams, and things of like, okay, I really want this thing to happen. And you're so focused on getting the outcome or forcing this one outcome, you're cutting yourself off from seeing the potential and the abundance that's actually been surrounding you this entire time.
I love that. And it reminds me of, A Course in Miracles or A Return to Love, if those are, languages that speak to you. When we are not forgiving someone, something, some situation, or we are holding a resentment, we are actually blocking ourselves from the stack up of miracles that are actually available to us. Or if you speak in the language of vortexes, we're not in the vortex. We're blocking ourselves from being in the energy of the law of attraction and manifestation. So that's a beautiful way to recognize what this opposition may reveal to us, how we're blocking ourselves from being in the flow of attraction and creation and alignment, as well as really looking at these oppositions. So that's a good way to put it.
And the other thing too is, so Mercury being communication, this is like, there's a tendency for people to have a very vitriolic tongue around this time, to be very lashing and punishing with the ways that they communicate. So really be careful with just the ways that you're conducting yourself, because when Pluto's involved, your immediate reaction is cut them down at the knees, make them feel weak, make them feel small, claim your power, because Pluto's about power and control, right? So notice which situations are putting you either in a place of power or feeling like you have lost your power, because again, it's about the relationship of control. And do I need to surrender? Do I need to relinquish control here?
It brings up a great point, because I will be fortunately in Austin, Texas at this time, getting to spend some good quality time with my mother, who is a Leo, and her birthday is at the end of the month. And
wait, I didn't know you were going to be in Texas. I'm going to be in Texas like in 2 weeks.
Well, we may cross paths. We may.
Ooh.
Oh my God. Oh shoot. Watch out, world. Watch out, world. Shoot. Yeah, but what it makes me think of, because when I lash out, when I am short and quick, it's with the people that I love the most. So it'll be my husband or my mom. Usually those are the two people that bear the brunt of my sharp tongue. Is I'll cut my Plutonian energy. I got you. I'll cut you down. I'll make you feel small. And of course, I have grown through so much of that and recognize it, but I'm like, oh shoot, I'm going to be in Austin and I will already have been there a few weeks. And so I just know that like tensions will run high because we trigger each other, because, my mom installed the buttons that get pushed. So it's a good opportunity for me to remember, to practice my patience, and also, really know that, that it's important to show up, and also if I am unkind or quick to anger, to also be quick to own my, what, and to be able to make amends and own my stuff, which is also key. So, okay, if you flub up, That's okay. You're human. It's part of the human experience. Being able to say, hey, I apologize for that. That was my stuff, not yours. I didn't mean to take that out on you or treat you that way. That wasn't fair or kind or whatever the context is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a good closure to the month, I think, because it's going to, if you haven't figured it out already from the beginning of the month, you're really going to know what's going on by the end of the month.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a real progression in this month. And even if you don't follow all of this stuff, and you don't have to follow it, step by step, but I will tell you this, there is an evolutionary progression that is really happening mentally and emotionally, and accessing higher states of being in consciousness just by being on the darn planet at this time. I mean, we signed up for pretty big missions, and we're in it. We're in it full on. So on the 27th, Mercury enters Leo. So totally different kind of communication than Mercury in Cancer. So different.
Mercury in Leo it's jovial, it is exuberant, it is fun and witty, and it's like you've been processing in a very Cancerian way, a very emotional way, and then now it's time to take what you've learned and take what you've processed and to like bring light to it, or to like, take a chance, take a risk, have some fun. Mercury in Leo is about having fun and being creative and being passionate, and it's a return to passion.
Yes, and that creative, spontaneous energy. It's spontaneity. It's creative, spontaneous energy, and being able to shine your light in the world, and to be seen, to be recognized. So, and because Mercury obviously is about communication, using your voice in whatever way that looks like for you. If you're a musician, that's your voice. If you are an engineer, that's your voice, whatever your voice is, but also finding your creativity. I asked someone the other day, when do you feel creative? How are you creative? And they really had a hard time saying what their creativity was. And we're all very, very creative, but creative doesn't mean that you are Picasso. That you're a painter, or you're, Coco Chanel. Like, creation comes out in many forms and fashions. So it's a really great time to recognize where your creative self-expression comes out, and you're using that part of the brain to reconnect and realign and neural pattern the right and left hemispheres of the brain.
Yeah, and that's a good point about creativity, because a lot of people, I feel like a lot of times through personality tests, whether it's Myers-Briggs or even astrology, there's these boxes that we kind of place ourselves in of like, oh, I'm a very logical person, I'm not a creative person. And we kind of shut that part of ourselves down. And so Mercury in Leo is a good time to open up the boxes that we put ourselves in, to be like, okay, well, creativity to me it's generative. It's like, when am I able to create something that feels nourishing, that feels good, that feels fun?
Yeah.
You can be creative when you cook, right? So you can be like, when you cook for yourself and you follow a recipe or don't follow a recipe. For me, I'm a yoga teacher, so creativity comes in the lens of my sequencing and how I instruct my students. So there's a lot of different ways that you can apply it. It doesn't have to be, I'm an artist and I paint, or I'm a musician, right? Those are the classical ways we think of it, but it's like, you could like organize an event and create a party. Like, that's creativity right there.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So just remember that it's a very creative time, very gregarious. It's a great time to laugh and play and be silly and have fun. And that is imperative. And it's soup, it's chicken soup for the soul, is our laughter, our playfulness, our silliness. And for those of us who can be quite a bit intense and serious, and we've been in a couple of years of massive serious, intense energy. And everyone knows it, everyone feels it. So it's time to bring out the inner child, which, and here we are. Here's the code. There's the energy of the 3 full on expressing itself. So just remember that. On the 28th, Jupiter retrograde. Jupiter is already retrograde in Pisces, but on the 28th, it retrogrades. It moves back into Aquarius. So that means if it's retrograde in Pisces, it was retrograde in like 1-2 degrees, something like that. Now it's moving back. And so it'll be like at the 29 point, like the 30th degree, like it's kind of there, but the 29th degree of Aquarius going back. So it's moving back into Aquarius and it's retrograde.
For the rest of the year. So
for the rest of the year through October 18th, pretty much
Yeah, and it's going to go all the way back to the 22nd degree of Aquarius. So if you have any things in your chart from the 22nd degree of Aquarius till, Pisces, you're going to feel it hit or bump up against some of your stuff. Now, this collectively, this is where I bring caution into the mix as far as like the global context and the pandemic, because if you notice, when Jupiter went into Pisces, the world started opening up again. Jupiter does well in Pisces. It is exalted, it is strong, it is home there. And a lot of astrologers also have been talking about how, vaccinations were going to roll out, restrictions were going to lift, which we have seen the evidence of it. Now, when it retrogrades back into Aquarius, the opposite is true of like going back into this restrictive time. We're probably going to see variants of the disease coming out. There's going to be different codes of conduct and restrictions put in place on us as a society because of the nature of just what we're dealing with this pandemic and with global health. So that's what I see collectively with Jupiter and Pisces, or Jupiter and Aquarius.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be also a resurgence of some tension and some conflicts, not only around the lines of the pandemic and health. I think there will probably be some things that come back up around cultural differences, racial issues, politics. Not that those those undercurrents aren't already there, but there may just be mindful that in the collective, I think there's going to be a replay of what's being rewired for the future. Because remember this, Aquarius is about the direction in which we're going. It's about the future. And so when Jupiter moves back, it's expanding and it's rewiring what systems need to be shifted and changed. So that creates opposition and conflict. So just be mindful. And so it's a good time, we're just remembering, between this point in time, the end of July and to the end of the year, especially into October, it's a really good time to make sure that you are doing things that keep you centered, you grounded, you healthy, you whole, and especially before you engage. Do I feel well rested? Do I feel well fed? Am I? And of course, that's very privileged talk. Am I well rested? Am I well fed? I recognize that. But also being mindful too of cultural differences and other perspectives and what's going on.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see what the retrograde is going to bring for the end of the year, because then when the start of 2022, Jupiter and Pisces, it's quick. It's going to be a really quick segment. I know it's a bummer because Jupiter and Pisces is fun, but
I've already been loving it. And so I'm just like, why does it have to go by so fast? But you know what? Like, we're going to make the most of it. And especially to move into Pisces and kind of be in there in 2022. It'll jive with other Piscean energies that are coming in. So, things will align as they are supposed to. All right. Last but not least, we're closing out the month on July 29th, which is actually my mother's birthday. Shout out to my mom. It's her 75th birthday, and I will be able to be there and celebrate with her. So Mars enters Virgo. Lord have mercy. I feel like I'm gonna be cleaning out closets and like getting rid of stuff and like It's like, it's going to be like, everything is like, let's get everything done. Let's get it organized. Let's get it taken care of. What's the next task?
Yeah. Mars and Virgo is, it's appropriate for house cleaning, deep purging of your closets, Marie Kondoing everything. It's what has been, okay, so we've had like this fun, you know, Leo energy. The sun's in Leo, Mercury's going to be in Leo. What has been left outstanding? Like while you're out having fun, like what is it that you still need to address? And Virgo energy, at the end of the day, it is of service, and it is really good at getting to work and knocking a project out. So this is about utilizing your efforts, right? Mars is your exertion and your efforts in a way that ultimately supports your goals. But it's like, what can you do now? Like, what are the little things that you've been putting off that you can do now that are going to support your goals, hopes, dreams, and wishes for the future?
Certainly. And Virgo being about work, routines, day to day, and health and well-being. I mean, that's what it's about. So this is a really great time to, if you've been putting off a wellness plan or exercise plan or a new diet, you know, changing up some nutrition patterns and things like that, you will actually have the energy and the fortitude and the drive to do it. So it's a great time to set that intention. And what's kind of cool about that is when we move into August, the numerology will be in a 4, which is very Virgo energy. And it's about cleaning house, getting everything in order, prioritizing, reprioritizing. So that energy will be very aligned in August to, you know, set and reset some routines for greater health, wellness, and well-being. So you can be of greater service to yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotional self, and then ultimately be of service to the world around you, the people around you, and how you show up.
Well, I love that it is leading us into the energy for August, because I mean, I haven't even looked at what August is bringing, but because it's a lot, but that makes sense. And it kind of, to me, when I look at these transits, it always feels like there's this divine orchestration to everything that we were experiencing. And this is why I love astrology and I love numerology and the work that you do and working together, because you're able to give yourself a little bit of a break and a little bit of permission to just be a human being and experience whatever it is without having to like get it right. Because there is a higher plan that we are just, we're not allowed to know. Sometimes we're not allowed to know, and it's okay. And we just have to trust that the process is unfolding as it's supposed to, rather than forcing it to be the way we think we want it, because what we think may not actually be in our best interest.
No, the mind plays tricks, and the ego loves to play tricks on us. Yet at the same time, we need the ego. It's what grounds us into this reality, this timeline. But we're moving, the rules of engagement, the rules of the game are changing. We're moving into a more multidimensional consciousness, but we're in linear time, and we chose to be in linear time, but we chose to integrate higher forms of thinking and being and time. So time is contracting and expanding and bending, and really, really one area of your life can inform another area of your life. But you have to be aware, you have to be paying attention in order to notice those connections and connect those dots. And July is a really great month, I would say, to start connecting dots personally, interpersonally, on a spiritually evolutionary level for yourself, your personal meaning, your personal mission statement, as Chris is saying, and how that has evolved, as well as the people, places, and things that you interact with and associate with. You know, are they supporting your hopes, wishes, and dreams, or are they keeping you playing small? What needs to shift and change in order to better align yourself with where the direction you are going at this point in time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff.
It's all good stuff. It's a good month. We hope you enjoyed this. We know that It's a lot of information that we really went deep into things, but we wanted to give you a comprehensive understanding of the play-by-play. And both Chris and I have utilized this information for ourselves personally for years. I always look at the energies and what's going on, and usually I intuitively know, and it gives me sometimes a bit of solace. It gives me comfort to know, okay, this is what's going on. Maybe that's what's triggering this within me. And it helps me take off sometimes layers of self-criticism, shame, blame, or me behaving in a way that really is not in the utmost integrity or virtue with the people around me in my interactions, and showing up as an individual, a human being that is evolving and growing.
Yeah.
So, all right, everyone, thanks for joining us. There will be links to get in touch with Chris if you want an individual session below. And also, I'm saying this at the end, but I'll say it in the captions too. We will timestamp everything, because this is a pretty darn long video. We know we'll timestamp it, so you can say, okay, what's happening on the 9th? Okay, that's it, 12 minutes, 27 seconds. So you can go to that and reference it, so you don't have to watch the whole video. And I will make a note of that in the beginning. So,
Yeah.
all right. Take care, everyone. Be well.